what the single biggest mistake companies make when structuring for tax in the UAE today?
The government has done all the right things from the perspective of creating a proper regulatory framework, creating a technology framework, and making sure that there are robust mechanisms for all the compliances, etc., and the governance that is needed.
In one line, what makes a tax structure truly defensible in today's enforcement environment?
It has to withstand the form. What is the reality? It should be as close to the reality. Whatever structure we are trying to put in place has to be real.
Welcome to Tax Leaders Boardroom. Today we are going to talk to Mr. Alok, Chugh, CEO and Managing Partner of Helios Consulting. Welcome, Alok.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
As Rashmi mentioned, my name is Alok Chugh. I've been in the Middle East for past 32 years. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. Worked for about 27 years with a Big Four consulting firm as a tax leader, and I was leading the entire Middle East and North Africa practice for one of the Big Four firms for almost 27 years. And then we started our journey with Helios Consulting, which I started 5 years ago. We've privileged to be working with some large multinationals who are operating across the region, and some family offices and new startups, etc., who are expanding globally.
That's great. Thank you very much. So, Alok, I would like to ask you a few questions from consulting side of view. So, I would like to know, like, what the single biggest mistake companies make when structuring for tax in the UAE today?
Right. Okay. So I think if I were to try and answer this in multiple brackets, what's very important is the companies have continue to operate in the traditional world that they've seen. Dubai has always been very attractive as a hub for multinationals who are operating in the region. It's been very attractive hub for small businesses who are growing and expanding. And it has enjoyed the reputation of attracting a lot of money from even family offices that are across the globe. That trend is now, it's not changing, but that trend is strengthening further because the government has done all the right things from the perspective of creating a proper regulatory framework, creating a technology framework, and making sure that there are robust mechanisms for all the compliances, etc., and the governance that is needed. And that's where some of the businesses are struggling at the moment. They're still not realized the fact that there is compliance is now increased. Some of the things and the practices that they used to adopt from a business point of view no longer exist. They could not continue with the same model, and hence they have to strengthen and transform from that from the business perspective, from my ideology perspective, on how to continue to grow their business in the region. Yeah.
So could you give 3 bullet points, like a short answer, like what are the biggest mistakes companies are doing?
The mistake, of course, is not having the right resources and not realizing the fact that having the right kind of skill set and the right team which understands the nuances and the compliances, etc., that are there is a huge gap that still exists. We're seeing change. I'm not saying it's not there, but I think we still have a lot of gap to fulfill in that. Yeah.
Thank you. So moving to our next question, is the UAE still a strong tax structuring hub, and why?
Yes, I strongly believe that it will continue to be the same case because of all the right things that they're doing.
Right.
They have introduced the right sort of legal framework. They've introduced the right kind of compliance requirements, etc. There, the laws are very getting clearer day by day. Wherever there are ambiguities, etc., in terms of interpretation, we see the regulators like FTA, etc., introducing new and new clarifications that are being issued fairly frequently. So that is providing a lot of clarity to businesses. At the end of the day, any multinational which is operating anywhere else in the world wants to see certainty around taxation. which is a
Right.
key. They want to see that when they are sort of bidding for business or bidding for projects, etc., in the country, they want to see that there is a reasonable amount of clarity in terms of the way the laws are written, the interpretation, the application, the subsequent future audits, etc., which continue. So this is where UAE has demonstrated that they have tried to provide as much clarity as possible for businesses, and that gives them a level of comfort in that sense. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So, moving ahead, which area is triggering maximum tax right now? Is it substance, documentation, or data quality?
Oh, it's a good question, actually. I would say all of them.
Okay.
Why I say all of them is because as a tax professional, I couldn't be looking at these things in silos. When we are giving an advice to a client or a large group who's willing to put in their investments in the country, they have to ensure that substance is there at the core.
Right.
We are no longer in the world and the arena where people used to have paper companies and shell companies, etc., being managed remotely, and then being able to avoid paying taxation. We are, and that's where the whole context and the discussion about having a strong substance in the business and the entity that you have or the operations that you have exists, and that is something which is there in the UAE tax law, very clearly defined in the requirements. The second is in terms of obviously documentation. I think unless you create a proper documentation, you won't be able to sort of withstand any kind of future audits and compliance, etc. that is going to there. We've probably seen, we are at the moment seeing, we are at an infant stage, I would say, in terms of the application of the law and how it is going to be practiced. We are already beginning to see cases where there have been queries and emails being set up, coming up from the Federal Tax Authority, asking for audits or clarifications, etc., for the tax returns that have been filed, which is a good sign, because that in fact reflects on the fact that that the regulator is very hands-on with what is going on in the market. And I think once we test a few of those cases, there'll be a lot of clarity to the taxpayers also, in terms of how they plan ahead and how they practice their tax. And I think you had asked me a third question. What was the third part? Data quality, and the third one was
substance, documentation, and
data quality. Now, of course, so data quality is where I think we move towards the theme of the day, where we are unless we're churning out the data systems and the technology that is backing us from finance and accounting perspective. If it's not churning out the right data, we can really make a huge mistake in our compliance, in the tax compliance, and the penalties are huge. So this is what we advise our clients through our discussions when we're having conversations with them, be it in terms of the entire digital transformation that we want to enforce at their organization, or whether in terms of e-invoicing, the current mandate that is hot in the market. The important thing is making sure that they've got platforms and the solutions which they've implemented, which are bringing out the right quality of data that is required for compliance.
So according to you, the trigger points are all these three: substance, documentation, and data.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. That's I totally agree with this. So next question, like, what one red flag that almost guarantees regulatory attention?
Yeah. So I think again, the answer would be somewhat connected with what we were discussing, but I mean, not having the right kind of governance, the whole governance that comes into play. And I will give you a few examples of this. So we right now talked about, let me give you an example of transfer pricing. Now, unless you've got a proper transfer pricing documentation to back you up, or the governance model that sits behind that, you're likely to falter. So if the transactions are happening at arm's length between the between related parties, etc. Uh, unless you have a proper governance framework for that, which addresses the complexities of all those transactions that are happening with the related parties, uh, chances are that whatever quality of systems that you may bring in, or the agreements that you might put in place between the related parties, etc., you would, unless there is a proper sort of governance mechanism which makes sure that there is a process of mm, approval and recognition, and there are multiple layers of approvals that are there at the entire through the entire journey, you could probably falter. And then if a future FTA were to, a future audit was to take place through an FTA, unless they see that governance mechanism, you will not be able to there. I'll give you another example: anti-money laundering, AML. Now, for AML is the thick of things these days. And every institution that we talk about, has to have our. And one of the key asks of the regulators is, do you actually have a proper governing model? First of all, you have to show that there is a proper policies and procedures that are laid down. How do you ensure that your people within the organizations are actually aware of the AML guidelines? What kind of trainings that you have for your people and the processes, etc., to ensure that they recognize the importance of AML. Once that governance platform is there and the framework is there, and the regulators are happy with that, the implementation becomes easier, and that's what they then accordingly the decisions are made by them on how deeply they want to get involved with the implementation or the queries and follow up, etc. Yeah.
That's a very valid point brought up by you. And yes, that's very much important.
Thank you.
So moving to our next question. In one line, what makes a tax structure truly defensible in today's enforcement environment?
Okay, so I think it has to, the one line, if you were to ask me, I think it has to withstand uh, the form. What is the reality? It should be as close to the reality. Whatever structure we are trying to put in place has to be real in sense. So that's where the whole discussion comes in from a tax terminology perspective. I'll say, what's the substance over form? And there's always a discussion that happens between the organization or any taxpayer with the regulators when they come in, or the tax authorities. They want to see, does has the structure been put in only to execute a certain tax transaction, or is it got the real sort of what is the form of that? Is that what is the reality behind this? So in simple terms, if any kind of structure will fail the future audits from the tax authorities if it does not, it's not close to the reality of what is actually expected to be done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was really nice meeting you. Really, we had a wonderful discussion. Thank you for answering these questions.
Thank you.
And thank you once again.
Thank you.